A couple more reasons to actually fucking hate Nintendo.
I'll buy a Switch 2. It's just like a PS3.
Even now, people who did buy it are like, man, I kind of wish I didn't buy it. The Switch 2 is just not worth it.
Nintendo is a company that has been a part of my life about as long as I can remember. From when I was younger playing Wii Sports and Mario Galaxy, to getting my Wii U and playing Super Mario 3D World for days on end, and getting Splatoon and just playing all day listening to fucking like EDM on my Skull Candy headphones at the age of 12. To middle school when I bought the Switch launch week and had one of the most unbelievable game experiences of my life with Breath of the Wild. And as of a few days ago when I bought my Switch 2 and all I can play is Mario Kart World. And nowadays, it feels like most conversations about Nintendo are in relation to them being a greedy company. Whether it's out-of-touch lawsuits or changing things about a game that nobody wants changed, it feels like every time I open my phone, it's a TikTok or an Instagram reel about some greedy shit Nintendo's doing again. I kind of feel like probably how, you know, Kanye fans felt.
They motherfucking made the Twix double the size.
I mean, that was pretty bad, but it seems like every day it gets harder to defend them as a company and just sucks because I love what they make so much.
Reggie here. I'm retiring.
So let's go way back to see what dominoes fell to lead Nintendo to what it is today. When I mean way back, we're going way back. Like Nintendo, when they started selling playing cards. These mass-produced playing cards made Nintendo so much money that in 1981 they decided to dip their toes into some arcade games. In this toe dipping, they created the game Donkey Kong.
Okay.
Which became super popular in the United States. This was Nintendo's first huge success outside of playing cards and led them to creating the NES. Now I want to backtrack a little bit because right before the NES released, the US market had a huge crash in video games. This was due to the oversaturation of the product on the market. Essentially, so much bullshit shovelware was on the shelves that picking out games felt like a huge task because you didn't know what you were picking up, if it was going to be quality or not. This led to a huge revenue drop in the industry from about $3 billion all the way down to $100 million in sales in just 2 years. Now I say this because the NES released right around the tail end of this crash, and Nintendo made a decision that would solidify their business practices for years and years to come.
No one else creates this kind of experience because no one else creates these kinds of games.
See, the NES would only hold first-party Nintendo games or third-party games that were officially approved by Nintendo. So the NES wouldn't be able to run it unless it was for that console. Before this, it was super easy to make cartridges and just load shovelware onto consoles because they knew how to make the cartridges. This prevented the oversaturation with the shovelware I was talking about, and is what made the NES so successful. The industry before this definitely took a quantity over quality approach. So with this change, customers could be more comfortable buying games because they knew they were approved by the company of the console they were buying. Also, Mario and Zelda were born out of this console, and to this day are Nintendo's biggest franchises. Around this time, they created some copyright protection with a Nintendo seal of quality that they put on their products. Those Wii remote wheels aren't officially licensed, buddy. So now we fast forward all the way to today, and Nintendo still holds up most of these standards for their game and console releases. Of course, having their first-party games exclusive to Nintendo consoles only. But recently when the Switch 2 was announced and all of the info was coming out about it, it seemed that people were not very happy with this. The first and biggest upset for people was the console price, which is $450. And I'll be honest, I flat out don't get this one. I'm gonna sound like a meat writer for the next like 5 minutes of the video, so bear with me. A brand new PS5 is about the same price, as well as a brand new Xbox. So I understand that Nintendo sort of has a reputation of having less pricey consoles compared to the competitors. I think matching that price with getting a handheld and a home console all in one with all the new features they've added is not a crazy ask. Sorry. The other three big ones were game keys, the price of the new Mario Kart, and the new terms of service for the Nintendo Switch. So let's start with game keys. Game keys are a physical version of the game without the full game on it, and it basically just gives you access to play the game. And people are not very happy about this, including me. I mean, I love physical media. I have so many vinyls and CDs and movies and books and games. And when I heard about this initially, I was under the impression that all of the games for this console were going to be these game keys. But that is not the case at all. The purpose for the most part of the game keys is that some of these games are too big to hold on the card. With all of the hardware upgrades with the Switch 2 and having the same exact cartridge size, it makes sense why you wouldn't have the full game on it. And as Nintendo has said, it's not going to be all games. It's probably going to be just a lot of third-party games that are too big. And while it sucks, yes, it's far from a new thing. I don't think the full Call of Duty games have been on the disc for years. But unlike companies like this, Nintendo clearly states that these games are not on the full cartridge. It says it even on the box art. So just while it sucks, it's far from a new thing. And at least they're being super transparent about it.
Now let me be clear.
I know I'm still glazing, bear with me. We got two more. And then I'm done. And then we can talk about the bad stuff, I promise. The next thing I want to talk about is the terms of service and the console breaking itself. I'm gonna glaze a little less here because yes, it does suck that essentially this company can just strip your ability to use the thing you bought. And yes, it sucks, but Sony has this too. And again, I'm not trying to defend the fact that they're doing this as well. I'm more trying to say it feels like the focus is targeted directly at them when it's been an industry standard at this point. And this isn't just an industry standard in consoles, but in phones, in so much technology we use today. So yes, it sucks, but like, everyone's doing it. All right, last piece of glaze, the price of Mario Kart. The new Mario Kart is $80, with games getting more expensive than they've ever been, and consoles becoming pricier and Okay, hold on. Let me stop my good friend right here, because he's actually wrong. The original Legend of Zelda for the NES, when it was released, was $50 in 1986, which is, guess what, $140 fucking dollars today. You can almost buy the new Mario Kart twice with that amount of money. So while yes, I do think it is a little unprecedented to pay $80 for a game they basically make every fucking generation. And yes, it's a fun game. I don't know if it's an $80 game, but I got it bundled, so it was basically $50. And I have definitely been getting $50 worth of content, probably more. All right, back to this fucking idiot. So yes, while games are cheaper than they've ever been, people also have less money than they've ever had. So while yes, it's definitely a crazy claim that video games are more expensive than they've ever been, the current economic issues in the world, it sort of makes sense to be complaining about prices like this. All right, I'm done. Enough meat riding Nintendo. I just wanted to get out of the way some of the stuff that people have been talking about so I can get into the things that I have really an issue with. Let's start with one of Nintendo's favorite pastimes. Suing! Nintendo is extremely strict when it comes to using their creative properties in any way. Well, it's definitely not uncommon for companies to sue over licensed properties. It feels like Nintendo is extremely far out of touch in this department. There's actually a website completely dedicated to the lawsuits Nintendo has put themselves in. Some are pretty simple, like YouTubers uploading full Nintendo soundtracks and them getting taken down, or emulator companies that made emulators for the 3DS or the Switch or the Wii. These are pretty run-of-the-mill things for multi-billion-dollar companies. But Nintendo also seems to lose the plot a lot of the time when it comes to this stuff. So let's do a little weird Nintendo lawsuit speed run. Nintendo sues a grocery store in Costa Rica that went by the name Super Mario's. They lost this lawsuit. Nintendo sues game Palworld for having similar to Pokemon creatures in their game. This case is ongoing. Nintendo asked for all Nintendo-related add-ons to be removed from Gmod, removing thousands of maps and a decade's worth of content. Nintendo copyright strikes archive.org for having a copy of a Super Mario 64 strategy guide on their site. There's a few examples of larger Smash Bros. Tournaments being shut down because they aren't officially sanctioned by Nintendo. Bowser's genitals hit with What? Nintendo just seems to be extremely territorial when it comes to a lot of their property, which again is common for companies this size, but sometimes they're getting a little bit out of control. When you're a company this big with characters as recognizable around the world as fucking Mario, what is the point of suing a small grocery store in Costa Rica that doesn't affect your sales at all? It feels like most of these lawsuits are done just so they can say, we can take down this thing because we want to take down this thing. But as I said, a company as large as this with characters as recognizable as they are, you are never going to stop knockoffs. You're never going to stop emulators from releasing, and you definitely are going to stop it with silly lawsuits that are basically just burning money. If you're always trying to funnel people into buying licensed products only, there's always something that's gonna slip through the cracks. And Nintendo, sometimes you gotta let a little nip slip, okay? And it especially sucks when they're trying to take down things that truly have no effect on them, but affect others. Like I noted in my speedrun, Nintendo likes to sue tournaments that aren't officially sanctioned by them. No, this doesn't mean Nintendo's about to go blow down your door because you are playing Smash Bros. With 4 of your friends. But a bunch of smaller tournaments that aren't sanctioned, that have prize money, get shut down. And that's lame. Like, why shut down a tournament that is using your games and promoting your games with people who are passionate about your games, who will socialize and have some good entertainment and will continue to buy your products, and say, no, you're not allowed to have this tournament. You possibly just alienated 100 customers that you had for years because of some stupid tournament. But guys, Nintendo doesn't make money from the tickets for the tournaments. The organizers make money. Nintendo should make the money. It's not fair. Nintendo deserves the money. Like, I don't even need to explain why this sucks, right? Another great thing Nintendo does is getting a lot of patents, which on the surface is fine. Nintendo has a total of 8,541 patents globally. About 75% of those are active patents. And what's interesting about these patents is that they've actually filed some recently in relation to game mechanics. They did this during their lawsuit with Palworld, which is still ongoing, to essentially gain more legal ammo to say that Palworld copied mechanics that they have patented or are trying to get patented. And I think this honestly sets a really scary precedent for the gaming industry. Because if companies like Nintendo and others are patenting mechanics, vague mechanics, this could create a huge issue in like the indie gaming community. And it gets even scarier when you realize how big indie games have become in the last 10 years. Being able to utilize social media now to promote your game means more eyes have been on the indie market than ever before. So back in the day when it was a lot more difficult to access indie games and AAA games were the only thing on the shelf. But now with how huge Steam is and social media, it feels like indie games can stand toe-to-toe with AAA games in terms of sales and popularity and how much eyes are on games like this. Stardew Valley was made by one dude and has sold millions and millions of copies. So now that AAA games have this sort of competition, the probability of them utilizing patents like this or vague mechanics to take down competition seems like not far in the distant future. Now, this is the end of the video where I'm going to sound like a hypocrite, but I have still continued to buy Nintendo products. Yes, I know I've been talking all this shit this whole video, and I'm just adding fuel to the fire, and I just recently went and dropped $500 on a new Switch with Mario Kart. Nintendo, throughout all phases in my life, has brought me so much entertainment and joy. Every new console that comes out is like a holiday for me. Playing through the newest 3D Mario game, or Zelda, or Smash, are a monumentous event compared to any other video games I play every time, and they never fail to make me happy. It's kept me sane during horrible times in school, or just general periods of my life where I'm down. And I hate these development fuckers, bro, because they know what they're doing. I could get lost in Breath of the Wild or Super Mario Odyssey for hours on end. Some of my favorite memories with people I love were sitting in a dorm room playing Smash Bros. So while I am aware of this company's greedy, anti-consumer practices, I don't know if I can bring myself to stop playing these games. And I don't think it's a crazy task for them to change the way their company moves. In 2014, President Iwata split his pay in half so that they didn't have to lay off workers. There's reports that one of their biggest development studios doesn't have time limits or pressure to crunch on games. Nintendo's late president Satoru Iwata once said, "I sincerely doubt employees who fear that they may be laid off will be able to develop software titles that could impress people." So while it's an unrealistic hope, I think that there's proof that Nintendo knows how to treat people. Clearly they have a great work environment, and I wish that would just reflect how they treat their consumers. Will it happen? Probably not. But a boy can dream. Thank you for watching.